Hey Chemistry, this is part 2 of 2.03. And actually, before we start that next slide, I added a little bit more to our definition of the mass number. So I added that the mass number is the decimal on the periodic table because it's an average. Atoms of the same element can have different numbers of neutrons. And even though they didn't give us that word yet, it's called an isotope. So you don't need to know it yet, but I'm throwing it out there. Always round to the nearest whole number when doing the math. That's important. And then the other term we're going to add is electronically neutral atoms. The number of protons equals the number of electrons. The overall charge of the atom is 0. All right, so let's read some more about that. An electronically neutral atom has an equal number of protons and electrons. Protons have a positive charge. Neutrons are neutral in charge, and electrons have a negative charge. The electrical balance of an atom is determined only by the number of protons and electrons. So the mass is protons and neutrons. The charge is protons and electrons. An electronically neutral atom has an equal number of protons and electrons, so the positive and negative charges cancel out. The net charge on the atom is 0. So net in science class just means total. We're going to add that word in there because it's used a lot, and it's one of those where you don't want to get a question wrong because they use the word net instead of total. So the net charge on the atom is 0. Not all atoms are electrically neutral, but for now you will work with ones that are, and we assume that they're all neutral when we start. So if I have 10 positive protons plus 10 negative electrons, 10 minus 10, 0. Therefore, the overall charge is 0. It is possible to determine the number of electrons in any electronically neutral atom. The atomic number of an atom is the number of protons. And in elements, atoms all have the same number of protons. So again, no matter what atom of lithium you have, it will always have 3 protons. Look at screen 1 of the mass number activity. Sodium has an atomic number of 11. So we'll zoom in here. All right, so how many electrons should appear in the electrically neutral sodium atom described below? So if there's 11 protons, that means 11 positives. How many electrons do I need to have to balance that out? I need to have 11 because 11 minus 11 is 0. They also show us the mass number is 23. 23 minus 11 gives us our number of neutrons. So the number of protons and electrons start out the same. And you can see here they drew it, and I'm going to point this out because this is also going to be important. If you notice, there's different orbitals. There's 2 electrons in the first orbital, and then it's full. There's a total of 8 in the next orbital, and then it's full. So 2 plus 8 is 10, plus 1 more makes 11. All right, go ahead and tell me the number of neutrons and hit pause. Answer is, the mass is 20. 20 minus 10 is 10. The number of neutrons equals the mass number minus the atomic number, or the mass number minus the number of protons. All right, so what about aluminum? It has 14 neutrons, 13 electrons. How many protons? Hit pause. Answer is 13. It's always the same as the atomic number. It starts out neutral, so it's also the same as the electrons to start out. All right, 20 neutrons for potassium. The atomic number is 19. The mass number is 39. Hit pause. Answer is 19. Atomic number tells you the number of protons. We start out equal because we start out with it being electronically neutral or a charge of 0. All right, tell me how many neutrons, how many electrons. Hit pause. So again, protons and electrons are the same. The number of neutrons, I took my mass number 40 minus 18, gives me 22 neutrons. All right, tell me all 3 numbers. Hit pause, get your answer. Answers are, atomic number is the number of protons, so that's 15. The number of electrons start out the same, so that's 15. The mass number is 31. 31 minus 15 gives us 16 neutrons. Because remember, the mass is how heavy it is, basically, And electrons, we say weigh nothing because they're so tiny. All right, what about this one? What's the atomic number of hydrogen? Well, hit pause, get your answers for both. In this case, they're both 1. The atomic number is 1 because there's 1 proton, and hydrogen doesn't have any neutrons. It's very, very tiny. It's the smallest one. So it does have to have that 1 electron to be electronically neutral, but there are no neutrons, so the mass is just that 1 proton. All right, get this one for me. Hit pause. Answer is 9 protons, so my atomic number is 9. We're starting out neutral, so I have 9 electrons. 19 minus 9 gives me 10 neutrons. And the last one, hit pause, get your answer for beryllium. Answer is protons equal the number of electrons when it's neutral. The atomic number is always the number of protons. Now I added protons plus neutrons to get a mass of 9. And I do have some more practice here. I suggest copying this down. I want you to hit pause, fill it all out, make sure you can do it. Maybe wait till tomorrow, because sometimes it's easy when I just go through it. If you're like, yeah, I got all those right, wait till tomorrow and fill this out. And then I'll show the answer to this at the very end of the video. The atomic number is what makes an atom of lithium different from an atom of beryllium. At the beginning of this lesson, we asked what makes lithium atoms different from beryllium atoms. It is the atomic number, or the number of protons, that makes them different. Lithium has an atomic number of 3, which means there's 3 protons in the nucleus. The mass number of an atom is the number of protons plus the number of neutrons. A lithium atom has a mass of 7, 3 of which are protons, because each proton weighs 1 AMU, or 1 atomic mass unit. And the total mass is 7, so it's 3 plus the 4 neutrons, because each neutron also weighs 1 atomic mass unit. Electrons are basically so tiny we ignore them when it comes to mass. Beryllium has an atomic number of 4. It has 4 protons. A beryllium atom with a mass of 9 has 4 protons and 5 neutrons. So atom characteristics include the atomic number, which is the number of protons. Atom characteristics includes the mass number, which is the sum or the total number of protons plus number of neutrons. And there is, of course, a quiz for you to take. And if you didn't fill this out yet, hit pause, and then you can restart this at the end. I'm going to show the answers now. And again, you can just hit pause and look at them as long as you need to as well. And if you're having problems with these, please let me know. This is not going away. You need to know this all year.